But now we have another Psul SCP that he wrote. Well, they wrote. Pardon me. I don't want assume the gender that they wrote. And apparently, Howard told me this will be a long ass one to read. So I wonder, like, if I should like prop the mic higher, you know. Let me take this. The next SCP takes up 11,000 words of the. So that this, you telling me this is what the one that's gonna take a while to read. Is the mic in the way of my face? Sorry. No. Okay, you cannot see the mic. That's good. I propped it up now, just to see if that helps with the. Also, let me see here if this is a bit better, you know. It's not gonna focus on like back and forth voice. Like, just going to do a test to see if this will improve the quality of the mic or the quality of my voice. But yeah, okay. Psul wrote as normal as blueberry pie, and this will take us the longest to read. So here we go. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. Mobile Task Force Theta 5, the bigger boat. Is to continue. Let me just move my keyboard. There we go. Is to continue tracking SCP-2162 and advise the containment supervisor immediately of any change in heading. 2 MTF 5 wait, sorry 0 5 patrol craft are to remain 10 kilometers ahead of SCP-2162 and are to escort any commercial or passenger vessels out of the anomaly's path on the pretext of naval exercises. If, based on its heading, SCP-2162 is forecast to make landfall on any inhabited island, local residents are to be evacuated from its path and a cover story is to be circulated of unseasonal cyclonic activity. Current calculations predict late 2021 as the likely date of arrival. Well, that's already passed. Of SCP-2162 in densely populated areas. Although, wait a minute. That sounds, I'm not gonna say it because YouTube will definitely strike this video down, but it sounds similar to something that we had. Determination of effective containment measures before the date is a priority. Description: SCP-2162 is a mobile anomalous construct which consists of a volume of highly concentrated nitrogen, N2 gas. Testing has shown that the interior of the construct has had a pressure of approximately 101 kPa, similar to atmospheric pressure at sea level. Ooh. But with N2 concentration significantly in excess of normal atmospheric conditions. Potentially as high as 100% nitrogen. Oh boy, here we go with the science talk. I'm gonna be out of my league now. The construct does not behave in the manner expected of a body of gas. For example, it is not affected by surrounding air pressure or weather patterns, and is not impeded by buildings or other structures. Instead, SCP-2162 maintains a constant shape and speed, and the atmosphere within the boundaries of the construct is spontaneously replaced with N2, returning to its previous composition once SCP-2162 has passed. Incident A revealed that SCP-2162 is composed of 3 shapes moving in formation. An arc 16 km in length, 2 km in width, and 750 meters in height. The arc is convex with the center bending towards the direction of travel of the construct. 2 wide cylinders 2 km in diameter and 750 meters in height. The cylinders are 4 km apart, aligned on either side of the midpoint of the arc. They follow the arc at a distance of 6 kilometers. Okay. The construct shape has been verified by atmospheric testing. Ionized air glow at the leading edge of the construct, which has become visible at night as SCP-2162 has moved away from artificial light sources, has provided further evidence of its shape. SCP-2162 moves at a constant rate of 0.25 km per hour, traveling in a fixed direction along a particular longitude or latitude. from the 25th June 2013, SCP-2162 travels south along longitude 118.25 degree west from its point of origin near Los Angeles, California. On the 24th of August 2015, the construct reached latitude 8.65 degrees south and changed course, turning 90 degrees and traveling west along that latitude. Addendum 1 post-incident interview -A/green/01. Okay, is this supposed to be like the start of like where we have so many tales to start? Let me see where this leads. Agent of Red and White. Is this something I should read, Howard? Interviewed Agent Green, Assistant Director Griffith, Head of Site 15 Disciplinary Committee. Date 28th June 2013. Forward. Incident-A involved the initial discovery of the anomaly, which developed in the area. It's relevant, but if you don't want to, you don't need to. It's relevant, so we shall read it. But is that part of the 18,000 of the 11,000 words that you talked about? Which developed in amnestics were dispensed across the affected area, and the event attributed to a gas leak from a nearby chemical plant. Yeah, okay, gotcha. 758 civilian and 19 Foundation casualties are believed to have resulted from the incident. So here we have A.D. Griffith. Both on details on the pages will count. Okay, gotcha. Thank you for your time, Agent Green. We're just trying to understand the part you played in resolving this incident. No problem. Mind if I smoke? I guess not. Will you start by explaining why you were in Los Angeles when the incident occurred? Not to be difficult, but if I... Actually, let me give it another bit difficult, but if I tell you, you just have to redact it all in the report. Can we say I was on the Foundation business unrelated to SCP-2162? And leave it at that? Yes, I believe so. Right. So, our communication department requested that you leave your assignment and drove towards Thousand Oaks. What were your first impressions? Frankly, it was chaos. Pi 1 was still hours away. Mobile Task Force Pi 1 City Slickers. There were a few teams from Site 15 that had been scrambled, but no one there knew how to deal with an anomaly like this. No offense, it's just not your usual scene. None taken. From the initial observation point, it looked like the goddamn Angel of Death had touched down. Cars had run into ditches through houses and stores. You could see bodies had collapsed on the pavement, but no obvious injuries. They were just dead. It was eerie. There was no sign of what had caused it. No sight, no sound, no nothing. Just death. And once you arrived in the observation point, what did you do? I went up to the guy in charge to get some instructions, Carter. He was the head of security? Yes. I'm sorry. He gathered everyone up, stood in front of us on the top of the rise. He told us they had site cordoned off, any civilians still alive had been evacuated. Said our job was to ensure no one else went into the area, sit tight and wait for backup. Then he asked for any questions, and 10 seconds later, he collapsed. Unlucky bastard. He hadn't realized the skip was moving. And what happened then? Well, all hell broke loose. Carter was convulsing, a couple of security guards went over to help him, and suddenly they collapsed as well. The rest of the group started yelling and running in every direction. Some of them fell too. Me and a few of the others started backing away from where Carter had been. It was pretty bad. We had an idea where it had come from, but not what it was, or how fast it could move. According to your report, you and the remainder of Site 15 team returned to your vehicles and left the scene. We hauled ass, yes. I ended up with one of your crew in my car, a young researcher. Dr. Zen, where did you drive to? South, away from the invisible wave of death, and towards the 12,000 citizens of Malibu who had no clue what was coming. We got on comms and decided the vehicles would fan out and try to warn as many people as possible, cut the roads off, get an orderly evacuation going. Pi 1 had a bird on the way to help. And which part of Malibu did you cover? You already know I changed course. I just kept thinking about those guards collapsing. I mean, it was like they had suffocated, but one of them was in a hazmat suit with SCP tanks. And I started wondering, what if they weren't breathing it in? What if all the air in their lungs, all the air in their tanks was just gone? but it wasn't hunting behavior, it was just constant arbitrary movement. It felt like, well, you don't hunt reality benders for as long as I have without a sense of what an anomaly is man-made. That's why I drove to the warehouse. This is the hazardous materials storage warehouse in Norwalk? Right. Zen told me about it. By the time we were halfway there, Pi 1 had managed to re-establish a perimeter, and they had realized how slowly the thing was moving. We knew we had some time, but we needed some way to use it, and I had an idea how. Could you please elaborate? Silence. 4 seconds. You see that smoke ring? You know that you can do the same thing without the smoke, right? Please, Agent Green, for the benefit of the recording. Okay then. Did you ever use invisible ink as a kid? No? You write it in starch or lemon juice, and then it turns visible when you wash the pages with iodine. I had an invisible anomaly, and what I need was the right type of wash. Zen was the one who came up with the nitrosyl chloride, which you knew to be hazardous and commandeered without orders. Which was less hazardous than an invisible killer gas, and anyway, there were no orders. Site 15 had no command left, and Pi 1 were trying to convince half of Malibu to cancel their parties. The team leader thanked me afterwards, not to mention, we probably gave them the idea for using gas leak as the cover story. Agent Green, we're trying to establish why you release thousands of liters of gas, a highly toxic mucosal irritant, near a major population center. Population center? It was in a state park by then, and the gas dispersed pretty quickly. And it worked, right? Colored gas everywhere that normally wasn't. Then damn thing showed up clear as day. The Pi 1 had Bird could work out the dimension and see how much of Malibu to evacuate. Once they stopped laughing, of course. Funny that no one had thought about what it would look like from above. I mean, Zen said the gas would be colored, he hadn't told me it was yellow. Kinda appropriate, don't you think? What I think is that we're done. I don't think count non-related pages like side dossiers or I don't count non-related pages like side dossiers. So okay, gotcha. Okay. Well, let's read the Angel of Red and White real quick. And from the looks of it, this is the SCP that I will take the most time with, because you said this takes like 11k words out of the 18.7 that were left. So yeah, let's go. Let's get it done. The coldest I have ever been was the day I was born. Alaska, of course, is a very cold state to begin with, even in the middle of summer. I was born in the winter. It was on New Year's Day 29 years ago that I was unceremoniously thrust from my mother's loin in the back of a second-hand pickup truck. My parents realized they would not make it to the hospital in time. My mother, for her part, was calm. There was no room inside the vehicle, and so my father lifted her out, then rested her on the snow-covered truck bed. The cold did its part to dull the pain. 20 minutes later, I slipped out into my father's chilly gloves. As I cried, my tears began to freeze. Every birthday, my parents would share this image with me. I was a baby, still dripping with blood, with snowflakes sticking to my body, a tiny little angel of red and white. Then we go outside and let off the fireworks. Happy New Year. The first few years of my life were uneventful. I crawled and mewed and burped and pooped and did what a baby is supposed to do. Tufts of red hair popped from my head, and Alaska's endlessly cold weather resulted in a lot of playing indoors. I aged some more and learned to talk, but had very few people to talk to. My father worked all day, and I slept all night, so we saw very little of each other. My mother ran me through my homeschooling courses modules, neat, compact little packages of worked examples. Those course books were the best games I had. My parents would never let me buy computer games, of course. They rot your brain, they say. I had no friends to play with. We lived in the middle of nowhere. As a child, the only things I had to occupy my time were those worksheets. When I was 7 years old, my mother had to go to the hospital for a week. While she was there, my father looked after me at home, taking a break from his work. He didn't know how the homeschooling program was supposed to work, and he wasn't a good teacher. We never really had a great rapport, so he left me to my own devices in the room with all the instruction booklets, kindergarten up, all sorted neatly into the nice little boxes. When my mom returned home, I had finished 2 years of schooling in her absence. This was perhaps the most pivotal educational event of my life. Rather than guiding me through slowly, my mother allowed me to progress at my own pace. She'd lie upstairs in her bed all day, coming out to make quick meals. I would sit downstairs and devour educational materials. After junior school level, the content ramped up in difficulty, and so My progress slowed. I'd go upstairs to visit my mother, proudly showing off my completed worksheets. The things I said to her still inside guilt after all these years. Look how well I'm doing without you. I was a child. I didn't understand the sort of pain that comes from not being needed in your own house. In retrospect, I'm sure my words were tormenting. A grinning red-haired little kid telling his mother that he's glad that she's not slowing him down anymore. That she isn't getting in the way. That he's glad that she's spending all day in bed now. Now she gets to relax. The next year she died. And I grew up fast. My father looked after me after my mother's death. Still, I saw little of him. Some mornings I wake up and he already had gone to work in the ancient pickup truck. I worked through my course books, occasionally ordering in new ones to fill gaps in my knowledge. When I was 13, my father brought me a computer and I discovered the internet. The net was still in its infancy then, but in some ways, but worse in others. At the time, it never really occurred to me to use it for anything other than education. Learning was fun, and so I would read. When I was 14, I discovered other things on the internet. There were no sexual education pamphlets in my coursework, bearing clinically dry biology textbooks. The burgeoning net was the next step in my educational pathway. When I was 15 and a half years old, I finished the last of my schooling pamphlets. I remember turning over to the final sheet, look at the aged piece of paper reading, "Congratulations," in a childlike font. My mother and father had written on it back when I first started the courses. I felt tears well up in my eyes and I recognized my mother's handwriting. "We are so proud of you." I started college when I was 16. I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. Mathematics and the sciences were always a decent option, and admittedly, but I've always found the easiest. But I never really had any great passion for them. I never had any great passion for anything though, so taking what I was good at made sense. Physics was my choice. I had to live on my own in Anchorage. Not that I minded, since my mother died, most days I had the house to myself. I was very much used to being alone. What I was very much unused to was not being alone, having to leave the house every day, having to walk to the classes taught by real people, in lecture halls filled with other real people. I wasn't used to having to take notes. I tried for a week, then realized what I was transcribing ended up mostly useless. Instead, I just remembered the course content the first time. It was easier to understand what was being taught instead of assigning it to paper. I spent that time assigning it to my mind. I topped the class in every course for my first semester. This got a lot of attention. Sure, some people had noticed I was shorter than other students, that I don't talk to many people or join any clubs, and I never entered into the on-campus bar. They mostly kept their distance. Course results came out and I made the mistake of letting my name go out on print. Not long after, I gathered a reputation among my peers for being the short nerd, and everyone kept coming to me for course help. I hated it. I wasn't an antisocial person, but having to slow down my mind to explain things to people was frustrating. Never thought that I have to transfer ideas in my head into the other people's. Trying to do so made me extremely uncomfortable. I hadn't met this problem before. The second semester finished, and with one exception, I topped all of my courses again. Then I took to solving the problem of dealing with real people. I found it surprisingly simple. Barely an inconvenience. Sociology, body language, some study of linguistics. I spent 3 days reading the dictionary from cover to cover. I never thought to do so before, nor really needed to. Even if I didn't have the right words in my mind, there was no need to limit my thinking to the constraint of language. I saw it as a mesh, a grid with which one could transfer information, and with that attitude I turned my mesh into the finest one I could. I got along with my classmates far easier after that. When I was 18, a professor offered me a teaching job. I knew him quite well. He was a personable, if somewhat eccentric man. He taught 3 of the courses I topped. While not the best teacher, he was an excellent orator and could easily hold the attention of his students for the marathon 3-hour lectures for his more advanced classes. He needed someone to take a position teaching the first year courses, tutorial classes. I was glad to take the position, and the pay nicely supplemented my personal finances. It took some time to review the material on the course. It had been some years, but refamiliarizing myself with the content didn't take too long. Each week, I'd spend some hours preparing notes and worksheets for the course. The physics was basic to me, and I enjoyed passing on the knowledge. Admittedly, I was younger than some of the students, but nobody made too big a deal of the matter. At the end of the semester, only 3 in the class of 78 students failed, and they were the ones who hadn't attended my tutorials. The professor was exceptionally pleased. and offered me a similar job in the second semester. At the end of the second semester, just before my 19th birthday and going into the final year of my undergraduate degree, he offered me a research job. This kid is going places. God damn. The research, and this is supposed to be Agent Green, or at least something related with Agent Green. We don't know if this is supposed to be Agent Green, but Agent Green has some story related to this. The research replaced most of what my final year of tuition would have been. For the first half of the year, I mostly covered theoretical quantum mechanics concepts. It was, while groundbreaking, not especially interesting work for me. Most days were spent poring over scientific articles to the library archives, trying to piece together the way that the nanoscopic world worked. At the end of the first semester, I came across a paper that greatly altered the course of my research. The article was written on typewriter, not formatted, not in the library's database, and likely unpublished. Just some 12 dense pages of scientific prose on seemingly ancient paper, like undecipherable to anyone who hadn't spent as much time as I had poring over the literature. There was no mention of the author's name. It was woefully incomplete, likely an early draft if it had ever been completed. But the concepts put forward were alien and potentially revolutionary. Number 1, introduction, to right. Number 2, traditional mathematical and scientific thought, to right. 3, modern mathematical and scientific thought. 3.1, modern understanding of reality, to edit. 3.2, physically empirical non-axiomatic models of mathematics. 3.3, non-axiomatic models of physics. 4, the interdependencies, there we go, of systems, to right. 5, philosophical discussion. 5.1, bias within non-axiomatic biological minds, to edit. 5.2, repercussions on epistemology. 5.3, analysis of the modern non-axiomatic naive science. 5.4, according for and removing bias, to right. 5.5, effects on engineering disciplines. 5.6, morals in medic engineering, to edit, maybe cut. And number 6, conclusions, to write. Empirical mathematics, non-axiomatic physical systems. While the mathematical concepts violated fundamental assumptions, the tenuous structure that they still had appeared to stand on its own. The paper put forward what seemed to be physical impossibilities with causal simplicity. It made no intuitive sense, and yet the few examples given seemed viable, if not trivial to construct. So I did. It took me 12 days to build my first working perpetual motion machine. It was a brutal makeshift thing constructed from gears and pulleys. The action of the machine acted to pull further tension along an already tense piece of rubber, which drove the machine even more. I analyzed the construction since I'd simply been building based on plans that were not my own. It took me a further 4 days to modify it to the exact more energy than I put in. Immediately, it then ended up spinning faster and faster until the rubber band snapped from the stress. But it worked. Despite traditional physical thinking, despite long years of being told otherwise, it was possible to construct a perpetual motion machine. A few years later, I could make one out of 2 pieces of paper and an elastic band. At the end of the second semester, I finished my degree and submitted 2 completed academic papers. One was on my original research topic and was the capstone of my educational career. It went to the American Journal of Physics. The other was the side project I've been working on without the department knowledge, knowing I'd probably be berated for the project or seen as insane. It was wholly possible that I was, which was a concerning prospect. It was my paper based on the paper, the nameless article that I couldn't help but make a proper noun in my mind. This one I sent to letters in mathematical physics, a more frequently published journal and one with the objective of rapid dissemination of breaking research. The worst case scenario I thought was that my paper get discarded into a trash can thousands of miles away. 18 days later, a week before my 20th birthday, the worst case scenario knocked at my door. The knock was rapid, methodological, military. 5 knocks almost perfectly spaced from one another. Then a break. Then another 5 knocks. I got to the door and opened it at a crack, the chain lock still in peace. A man slightly taller than I stood outside the door, sporting a brown crew cut and a black suit. He looked at me through the crack in the door, smiled and spoke. Mr. Stanley? Stanley Burton. That's me? Hi, Stanley. My name is Max Green. I'm from Springer Media. I'd like to talk about the paper you submitted to Let Us Mathematical Physics. Can I come in? Sure, yeah, hang on. I closed the door, undid the chain lock, then reopened it. Green smiled again and held a small white rectangle out in his hand. Thanks, Stanley. Here's my card. I took it from him, looking at the plain black ink printed there. Agent Maxwell CT B05, green type anomaly agent for Anchorage, Alaska, Global Occult Coalition. You're not from Springer? I looked up at him. He was smirking, holding up another one of the same business cards, then turned it around. The reverse side had a fractal image on it, similar to those I'd already seen in the Morals in Magnetic Engineering section of the paper. I felt my eyes unfocused and the sun started to go dark. I felt forwards dizzy. Green caught me in his arms. He looked down at me with amusement in his eyes. Sorry, Stan. I lied. Then the world felt like nothing. I opened my eyes, my heart feeling like it was on fire. I jerked, trying to clutch at my chest. My arms, however, were bound to the chair I was seated in. I looked upwards and to the right with unfocused gaze, slowly resolving into view as Max Green as he continued to inject a concoction of chemicals into my arm. He looked down at me, his face severe. He emptied the syringe into me, then pulled it out roughly. My arm began to drip blood. Green walked to the other side of the table, staring at my face, while the liquid circulated around my body. My heart kept trying to escape my chest cavity. Every icy breath I pulled into my lungs stung and scrapped at my insides, and every exhalation left me feeling less than empty. My brain felt like it was bunching up in the wrong places. I felt my neck spasm lightly, and with each twitch of my head, the world kept spinning. Green stared until the protest of my body ceased and started to talk. I have injected you with the inhibitor. Whatever unusual abilities you previously possessed are now under lock and key. Please understand that this is simply a precaution and is mandated by procedure. What? Pay attention, Stan. Because I'm only going to give this spiel once. You're currently 200 feet on the ground in the holding cell of the Global Occult Coalition, an organization dealing with threats of a metaphysical nature. I felt my neck start to twitch again. Metaphysics in this context is not some odd and intangible realm of philosophy. It is a very real, very dangerous system acting to subvert the fundamental workings of our reality. It is, if you break down the term into its roots, quite literally beyond physics. My neck stopped twitching. Physics is meant to work for a reason. The most dangerous thing that a human being can do, if they have to obey the laws of physics, is split an atom. Human beings who subvert those systems can do far more dangerous things without need for a stockpile of radioactive materials or a particle accelerator. Green pulled a cigarette case from inside his suit jacket, tapped one out on his hand, pulled a lighter from his other suit jacket and lit a cigarette end. He took a deep draw of smoke-infused breath and exhaled the putrid toxins into my face. I started to cough and my lungs again felt stabbing pins. These people are known as type green threats in the vernacular reality benders. If you are capable of performing the experiments detailed in your submitted article, then it's almost certain that you are one of them. Of course, you were exceptional to begin with. There are patterns in the childhood of a type green involuntarily and unconscious alteration of the world around them. Loss of a parent at a young age, to serve as a tragic backstory. Eternally lamenting the constant pain of being better than everyone else. Talents precipitating into some level of either arrogance, if they are become mysterious loners, or modesty if they want to play a abnormality. Life story is so formulaic, so cliche, and so statistically improbable that it's as though an untalented author had been creating your entire life. You raised flags. Is that a shot at the author themselves? Like, well, sometimes you just gotta degrade yourself. He paused to take another pull from his cigarette and blew several rings of smoke up in the air. And as a green type agent for Anchorage, it was therefore my job to monitor you. A job I've been doing since the second your father drove you into the city borders 4 years ago. He stared at me, waiting for me to object. My lungs still felt like cold fire, my mind still fogging slow. If I opened my mouth to talk, my stomach may well have clenched and emptied itself onto the table. Instead, I simply nodded, though it likely seemed like another spasm. Green continued. It's funny because one of the terms for reality benders in the universe is Mary Sue's. Ah, yeah, that is good. Ah. There are 4 phases in the development of a type green threat. Firstly, denial, a refusal or rationalism of their metaphysical capabilities. In your case, until recently, you were thought to be at most in this stage. You did not have conscious awareness of your abilities. I believe until sometime this year. The paper. I spelled out the phrase reactively. Green frowned. We'll get to your paper in a moment. Not my paper. The paper. I opened my mouth to speak again and heaved up the remains of a half-digested sandwich onto myself and on the table. Green looked on with disgust, shook his head, and continued. The adverse physical affections of the inhibitor were off soon. You give your part then. As I was saying, you were believed to be a Phase 1. Phase 1 type green threats do not elicit a threat response from our organization, simply occasional observation. We're quite happy to leave people alone if there are no genuine threat. Phase 2 is more dangerous. Phase 2 typically involves experimentation and exploration of your abilities. You are Phase 2 right now. Green pulled out a copy of the paper. I sent 2 letters in mathematical physics and thumbed through it. What you put forward here is what we expect from Phase 2 experimentation, just a bit more formalized. There's a very clear method to your metaphysical madness, where other Phase 2 examples simply do or feel without any analysis of the metaphysical phenomena. You put down what you perceive to be a new paradigm in mathematical and physical research. What you don't realize is that it's entirely incorrect for anyone who isn't you. Green stood and walked to a corner of the room behind me. I tried to twist my head around to follow him, but the bindings prevented it. He walked back with a soft rag, wiped my vomit from the table, and returned beyond my view. I heard a tap running for a moment, and Green turned it off. He walked back to the table and placed on it a glass of water, a small pile of paper, a box of elastic bands, and a copy of the paper that I had sent to Springer. Green then stood next to me and untied the knots, holding my arms to the chair. He returned to his seat on the other side of the table and gestured to the pile of materials. Also Green. So that's the agent here, Agent Green. Gotcha. So this is his him finding a different anomaly. Okay, cool. You state in your article a very simple example. Well, I gave Ancient Green you state in your article a very simple example of a perpetual motion machine, one which anyone can construct over a few minutes with 2 pieces of paper and an elastic band. I'd like you to try and make one for me now, based on either your memory or the comprehensive instructions you've written down. And the water? It's water. You just threw up. Drink it and try to keep it in. I picked up the glass, pouring the liquids down my throat. My head felt a little better, and my heart had resumed its regular pace. I took 2 pieces of paper and an elastic band, looking back up at Green. He nodded and raised his eyebrows. Have at it, Stan. I looked back to the piece of paper. The first section to stand was the stand was the easy of the 2 to fold. I started to construct it, firstly by folding the paper up to a point. Then, around the base, I folded the section on which the elastic band should catch, without any particular problem. Moving the completed base onto one side, I took another piece of paper and folded the rest on top of the first piece. I tested placing the 2 together, and the rotor spun nicely on top of the base. The next part was to fold the rotor piece so that the elastic band would pull on it. And then as the piece spun, give way to the next joining section, then catch on it. Similarly, it would realign the elastic band on the base, which would repeatedly fling the elastic band around the whole mechanism opposite to the rotor's movements. The folds no longer worked. I knew how the fold was supposed to happen. It should have been intuitive. I folded hundreds of the things. I moved the half-folded rotor to the side, then picked up a new piece of paper. I closed my eyes, deciding to rely on a muscle memory. Fold, 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 and then there was paper in the way where there shouldn't have been. I opened my eyes and looked at the folded rotor. It was in the right shape. I picked up the copy of my article, flipping through to the relevant section. Then, taking the outermost point of the start rotor, Fold them into the opposite sides of the paper by twisting them through the clockwise adjacent points. I looked at Green, looking at me somberly from the other side of the table. I spoke. This doesn't make any sense. I know how it's supposed to fold, but there's paper in the way where there shouldn't be. Type Greens have an intuitive understanding of how to enact metaphysical effects. Whatever terminology that makes internal sense to you, however you're perceiving these changes to the world, is nonsensical to anyone who hasn't had your experiences. You can't communicate what you think to people because the ideas can't operate outside of your own head. Green pulled out a completed paper perpetual motion machine and plugged the elastic band into motion. The mechanism started to spin, propelled by its own momentum. We took this from your house. I'm sure, looking at it, you can tell the mechanism by which it operates. But nobody else can. Other than you, or maybe another type Green. It's built off your internal idealization of reality. Green pushed his lit cigarette against the central point of the still spinning paper. Pay close attention. The roller caught fire, yet continued to spin. The flames spread to the base, and the whole structure started to collapse and curl in odd ways. The elastic band stopped moving as it should have, flinging itself to the ceiling, then falling to the ground. Then there was a loud crack, and what remained of the structure exploded into a puff of ashes. That was the sound that space makes when it unfolds itself. That's what it sounds like when normal reality is reasserted. Green swept the ash from the table, then took another deep draw from his cigarette. The room was filled with the scent of tobacco. There are two more phases after where you are. A phase 3 type Green is that stability. They know their limits and don't try to push beyond them. They're the ones that normally give us at least trouble, and that's where I want you to. And that's where I want to get you to. And that's where I want to get you to. And phase 4. The fourth phase is the type Green finding that they have no limits, typically accompanied by delusions of godhood. I don't believe that you will reach this phase for two reasons. Firstly, you seem to operate under a very strict and self-consistent system of metaphysical comprehension. Your abilities, for example, will not let you levitate objects with your mind or alter memories or do any of the stranger things which we have to deal with for type Greens. Even in your idealized reality, you have limits. Secondly, your personality doesn't match what we expect for ascension to phase 4. You take your academic abilities for granted immediately, which led to a superiority complex, and you're disappointingly unaware of or flippant about. But the fact remains that you can't quite easily be reasoned with. You don't try to manipulate people beyond maintaining an amicable outward mask, nor, frankly, do I think you are capable of it. You're far too naive to put yourself in the shoes of God, which is good since we've enough gods to deal with already. There wasn't much I wanted to say in response that wouldn't make me look petulant, so I remained silent. I think, though, you can understand why this organization exists. There are people out there who do consider themselves as gods. There are people who can grab other people's minds and twist them, reshape them or snap them with trivial ease. These people are not reasonable in the way that you are. These people cannot be negotiated with. What they want to take, what they want to take, they take. What they want that is not there. What they want that is not there to take, they make. These are people that the world can't know exist. And these are people that we can let exist. Green tossed the stop of his cigarette to the ground, extinguished it with his foot. My job is to kill those people or to stop them from getting to the point in the first place. I kept quiet while Green lit another cigarette. In our organization, Green operatives like me are normally accompanied by Orange operators. They're the heavy artillery for when something goes wrong. They're the normal people wearing orange suits, huge armored exoskeletons resistant to the sorts of things that Type Green threats can enact, or they are Type Greens themselves who can go head to head with the other reality benders, which finally gets me to my point. It was obvious what was coming. I want you as a reserve Orange operative. I kept quiet. We have 3 Orange operatives in Anchorage already. Orange suits are expensive and impractical for urban environments, so all 3 are reliable Type Greens. Given the sparsity of threats, I'm the only Green operative in the region. I can't say I'm impressed by the whole Reservoir Dogs color by numbers shtick. Green face remains stern. I need a yes or no response. I'm a theoretical physicist. Also, you have kidnapped me and have held me against my will, no? Green nodded. I think you understand the necessity of having done so, but fair enough. Then here's how this will work. Keep out of our way. Keep to yourself. Oh wait, I think you understand the necessity of having done so, but fair enough. Then here's how this will work. Keep out of our way. Keep to yourself. I will never see you again. No more attempt to describe or communicate metaphysical phenomena. No more perpetual motion machines. No more of any of it. Keep to yourself. Continue on with your research at the college, going as if nothing had happened. If you violate any of these, we will bring the full weight of the TOC down on you. If you make it necessary, we will end your life. Indicate to me that you understand and accept this. I understand. Good. Green was quiet for a bit and continued. That inhibitor going to last the rest of the week. Get used to feeling like the rest of us. Green took out his business card, flashed the fractal image at me, and the world felt like nothing again. I woke up on the lounge chair in my apartment, a dull pain pervading my head. I opened my eyes slowly, then blinked. The room was dark. The LED clock across from me shone red numbers across the room at 23:37. I stood up, so almost midnight for them. if 20 minutes passed on my side, it would have been the same time for me. I stood up, walking across the light switch, flicked the lights on, then swore a bit and shielded my eyes with my left hand. My eyes adjusted and I looked down at myself. The blood from the injection still drew a calculated tree down my arm. I went to the kitchen, twisting the nap and wincing as cold water washed the pattern away, dissolving it into a red spiral that disappeared down the sink. I splashed some water in my face, trying to rouse myself further. I walked to the bathroom and took a shower, then switched into my winter sleep wear. Tired, I moved to my bedroom, previously filled with pitter-patter of perpetually spiraling papers. Now there was silence. I sat at my desk and took out two stable sheaves. The first, my thesis. I thumbed through it, looking at everything I'd written. It made sense to me, but seemed hollow. I thought it some great work, a breakthrough, at least some kind of progress, but no, my mind was tricking me. There was nothing new here, yet how the professor had raved on it, called it astounding, lauded me with praises. Whose thoughts had I errantly twisted to see my way? How much of what I thought through was self-delusion? How much of my success was trickery? How much of my life just some formulaic and predictable pattern straight from the same cookie cutter as every other type green abnormality? The second, my derivative article, a knockoff imitation of the paper, full of highly personalized theories I thought universal. I knew what I meant. The ideas were in my mind, but the words didn't have the meaning they needed to. It was rambling. It was incomprehensible nonsense by an incoherent author, an author blind to the work's absence of communicable meaning. How much of what I had done really meant anything, when separated from my ambit? What of my life was taken the easy way, and what was earned? How could I be sure I deserved any of what I had? Did I deserve anything at all? Probably not. I jolted up and started racing to the kitchen. Your entire life a play, and you turn people into actors. I rushed into my mouth. Your life's a play, and your mother died from the role you cast her in. Dark yellow splattered across my kitchen sink. I heaved and heaved again. The stomach acid stung at my tongue, and then went up my nose. My eyes began to water as my heaving stopped. I panted, watching as my vomit dripped down the drain. My reflection in the metal base stepped back through the pain of bile, ginger stubble peeking through my blanched chin. I wiped my mouth, rinsed my hands, cried, then returned to bed. Get used to feeling like the rest of us. My sleep was broken and full of nightmares. Imposter syndrome goes insane. I mean, yeah, like this is like definitely like the most physical example of imposter syndrome, because you literally were a different person before. You were something that basically made sense to you, but only because like you were able to make the world make sense to you. And now Green gave him a chance to like see the world from how they see it, and he immediately looks at everything he'd done and be like, oh my god, none of this actually makes any sense. Everything I said, everything I've written down, everything I have taught was like random BS that I made people believe was the answer. Oops. Okay, that was the first tale. I have another one here. Update 29 June 2013. Agent Green was issued both a disciplinary caution and, on site director review, a commendation for his actions during Incident-A. Over his objection, Agent Green was assigned to work with Agent Daniel Navarro to investigate the source of SCP-2162 and the possibility of anomalous artist involvement. Fucked up, innit? Yeah, it is. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Figure and ground. Shirley, crying in a darkened cell, listening to her brother's screams and threats of the captors if he failed again. SCP-2162 supplementary materials. Addendum 3 field diary. SCP-2162/Navarro/1. Addendum 3 field diary. Yeah, we just read that. 30th June 2013. Met with Agent Green today for an initial briefing on the anomaly. Turns out he used to hunt down reality warpers for the TOC. Nice. Not the warmest of meetings then, given my skill set. God knows why they assigned us both to the skip. I guess the theory is that it's either an experimenting reality bender or an anode object. No, anode project, so it could fit either of our specialties. Well, I'm not sure it's as simple as that. It's clear the skip was man-made, but a piece of art is not very interesting, simplistic, even juvenile, and the execution feels all wrong. Even if the invisibility was meant to be postmodern, there's no sign of claiming credit for the work. No signature, no announcement. Even terrible artists want the world to know who they are. An experiment then, a practice of efforts. I seriously hope we don't see another draft. 2nd July 2013. The ground team traced a likely origin point for the anomaly to the Happy Camp Canyon Park in Moore Park. They located a possible epicenter based on the concentration of deceased wildlife and found fresh bike tracks in the area. Starting somewhere isolated does suggest an experiment, maybe one that didn't go as intended, like out of hand, and whoever it was panics and rides off on a mountain bike. It's got to be a kid. 7th July 2013. Green and I have been talking to local artists, asking about new faces. No luck around the northwest of the city, so we moved into central LA. They're a prickly bunch there. We've had a few walk-offs, a drink thrown in my face, and I think one of them almost unleashed some aggressive-looking mobile knitwear at us. I can't imagine trying to fit in here as a kid. Green's a good interviewer, though, knows what to ask and what to just listen. Turns out one reason things are so tense is that we're not the only interlopers on the scene lately. Apparently, some guy called Michael Cavendish has been asking for an anarchist to help on a project, offering big money on behalf of a rich widow in Beverly Hills. The artists here are far too principled to work for money. Of course, and laughed him out of the place, but now their backs are up. So our intrusion is poorly timed. Michael Cavendish? I'm sure I've heard that name before. 10th July 2013. Finally, a lead. We found someone who admits to seeing our mystery artist and has even given us a name. Robert Baker. I was right. He's a kid. We classified him as a POY 2162-1. Apparently, Robert arrived in LA early in the year and went straight for the anode. Let me check something now that I think about it. Okay, hold on, guys. Okay. Okay, there we go. I knew it. I knew it. I knew something was up with my mic. I should be way louder now, right? Alrighty then. I hope that's like a little bit fixed, and I think I can now put it back down here. Okay. Alright, let's go. Is a kid we classify him? Yeah. Apparently, Robert arrived in LA early in the year and went straight for the Anode community, looking to show off his work. Our contact saw him in bars some nights, wearing ratty old jeans and tennis shoes, barely sipping a beer all evening. Mostly people kept their distance. After Cavendish had been so pushy, everyone was wary of newcomers. So he sits quietly on his own. Then some notable annotists would show up, surrounded by contemporaries. There we go. My contemporaries. And hangers on, and he's suddenly filled with energy, like an excited puppy, but one that still half expected a kick. He'd scamper over to them and work up some quick effects, mostly light and colors, spinning in intricate shapes. Half the time, I don't think they even noticed him. Other times, some lackey would make a comment, call him a hick or something, and they'd laugh and move on, and he just slink back to his table and wait, or wonder at looking like he didn't know where to go. The funny thing was, some of the stuff he did was alright, basic, but he had talent. He should have tried to talk to more of us, or maybe we should have talked to him, but he only wanted to be noticed by big names. It feels good to be talking with artists again. Researchers, scientists, they draw conclusions, give you the results of their observations. And others can tell you more by painting the negative space, showing you other people's reactions and impressions, until you see the outline of the persons in the center. Based on the contact information, we've even managed to find an address in West Exeter. No sign of the POY, and his housemate wasn't much use. But we have set up surveillance and will intercept his mail. Our interest in POY 2162-1 has been noticed too. Our contact pointed out Michael Cavendish, who had been watching us from the corner of the bar. We might need to leave a word with him, I suspect. Addendum 4, recovered documents. By the way, once we're done with this, am I wrong to say that that basically on average afterwards every SCP is going to be like 1,000 words from your calculations? Because we have 7 more SCPs to go through, and it's going to be around 7k words left after this one. On the 11th of July 2013, Foundation Deception Protocols obtained a postcard address to POY 2162-1. Text follows: "Hey Goober, that's awesome news. Well done, you. Meanwhile, you have to get another phone, dude. Postcard is cute and all, but I want to hear this stuff sooner and text you congrats. Seriously though, you should be stoked. Only there a few months, and already someone wants you to work for them, and pays you in advance. That's a dream. That's exactly why you left. Who cares if the old lady doesn't appreciate your real stuff? Who cares if she doesn't know what romantic means? Let's give her Mitzi Gaynor and get the rest of that sweet cash, baby. And maybe she'll tell her rich LA friends about you. Who knows where you could end up? And when you do, you can go back and laugh at those snobs with the stupid out club. You wouldn't join now if they begged you. Just don't forget your little sis when you're famous. I told you things would work out. Hey, show me what you're working on too. I can't come to visit yet." Rolls eyes. "So photos please. Love ya, Junebug. P.S. Mom says hi." The card was postmarked from Muscatine, Iowa on the 25th June 2013, but misaddressed and not received until 11th July 2013. Federal database searches revealed driver license and social security details for June Baker, born 1997, residing in Muscatine with her parents. Mr. Daniel Baker and Mrs. Sharon Baker, June Baker has been designated as POY 2162-1. Every SCP left will be shorter than this, yes. A bit over 1K average. Yeah, that's fine. Addendum 5, post-incident interview -B/Cavendish 1. Interviewed Michael Cavendish, Agent Green, Agent Daniel Navarro. Date 12th of July 2013. Forward, Agents Green and Navarro attempted to question POY 2163-3, Michael Cavendish, at a club frequented by anomalous artists. -3 attempted to leave the scene, causing a diversion using tanks of liquid bromine in the POI's van, together with several items of anomalous technology. POY 2162-3 was eventually apprehended by Agent Green and Navarro and was brought in for questioning. Excerpts commences at 35 minutes 16 seconds. This is becoming boring. Michael, look. I'm pretty sure you know who we are. If so, you know that the only way we can help you is if you tell us how you know Robert Barker. Oh, I know who you two are. The ex-GOC trader and his fire magic lapdog. You think I should singe him again? I wouldn't bother. Taking orders from him now, are you, dog? How many of your kind has he killed? How many of your friends? You piece of... Daniel, just keep out of it. Oh dear, Mr. Agent, do you think he might burn you too? Do you think he hasn't thought about it? Fuck you. Do you think you could get a shot off first? I'm sure you thought about that. What if you're not quick enough? What will it smell like when you burn? Perhaps you'd like to remind yourself. Daniel, don't. Don't tell me what to do. Silence, 5 seconds. Dear, oh dear, it seems you two might have a bit of disgust between yourselves. You don't need me here. And I've heard all about you. I never heard of this Robert Baker person. You don't have any basis to keep me here. Except that you just said Baker. What? Yeah, I realized because now we'll say Barker. He on purpose said the wrong name. Yeah, we just spent the last half hour carefully saying Barker. It's an old trick, but there's a reason for that. It's just so effective when people think they're the smartest guy in the room. Not to mention you were driving a fan full of bromine, which forms a colored gas to visualize the anomaly nicely. And you're alias, Michael Cavendish, one of the earliest patrons of anomalous artists. That was a bit obvious, don't you think? Actually, I never heard of him. Really? Maybe just me. Perhaps. Nice acting, by the way. You almost had me going. Thanks. Anyway, Cavendish, we know you're involved. So can you get on with telling us? Or not? We got all night. Perhaps you could start with Robert Baker. For silence 4 seconds. He wasn't like the others. Most of the artists I talked to, once they knew what I wanted them to do and guessed who I was working for, they tell me where to stick it. Sometimes things even got a little nasty, although I don't mind that. But the kid was different. I knew straight away. He looked different. He looked hungry. Hungry. Desperate. He wanted approval, wanted someone to tell him how special he was. Hungry for attention, for praise. All just plain hungry. He was thin as a rail. And you offered him a commission. He showed me a little what he could do. The kid had some talent. We made a contract and I paid him in advance. Never seen anyone get that excited over a few thousand lousy bucks. What happened then? He messed up, is what? Tried to test it out and got everything wrong. The size, the level of detail, even the composition. It was nothing like the agreed specification. I mean, I get the bromine shipped at unnecessary risk and he uses the gas that's invisible. It was no use to anyone. So what? You killed him? Unlike you, I'm no killer. But I told him that his patron had a schedule and he had to meet it. And the kid flaked out, tried to run. I had to run him up, along with some incentive to finish his work. Where is he? I honestly don't know. Think very carefully. Where is he? Shit, like I'm scared of you? Only reason I said anything is I'm dead in any case. You had me here too long. Hell no. Who? The mysterious patroness? We can protect you from her if you help us. Huh? You think I work for that old bag? I never met a member in my life. I never even set foot in the club. My job is to get the members whatever they want. So if a member wants some old actress grinning mug to float around her lounge, I find someone who can make it happen. Cavendish. I'm going to ask one more time. Sound of door opening. Assistant Director Griffith enters. You two, with me, now. Sir, we... Muscatine team report. This interview is over. Recording ends. Okay, update. 13th of July 2013. The Muscatine, Iowa field team reported that attempts to contact POY2 were unsuccessful. Mr. and Mrs. Baker advised that June had gone to see her brother in Los Angeles, but were vague as to the details or timing of the visit. They could not give date for the last communication with her as for her expected return. Based on the lack of concern or curiosity, the use of amnestic-related compounds on Mr. and Mr. Baker was suspected. On-site tests identified the residue of a substance with effects on memory and perception, previously associated with the investigations involving the TOY known as Marshall Collin Dog Limited. In light of this information, it was determined on Assistant Director authority that POY3 would be anesthetized and released. Agents Green and Navarro requested that POY3 remain subject to surveillance, with the hope that he would lead investigators to POY1's location or to further contacts. This request was pending at the time of administration of the amnestics. Oh, that's a problem. Upon administration of a standard Foundation Class B amnestic, POY3 suffered what appeared to be a severe anaphylactic reaction and was pronounced dead by the Foundation medical staff at the scene. Post-mortem analysis revealed that the reaction may have been caused by artificially implanted histamine reserves triggered by the amnestic. Addendum 6, Investigation Closure Order. From the Office of the Assistant Director, Site 15, date 14th July 2013. Yeah, RIP. Yeah, honestly. It's also going to make the job a lot harder. Investigation into the whereabouts of POY1 hereby closed. Due to the presumed involvement of the hostile TOY, Foundation efforts are to focus on containment of the SCP-2162 anomaly, rather than recovery of POY1 and POY2. Applications by Agents Green and Navarro to continue the investigation have been refused. A formal protest from Agent Navarro was summarily dismissed. Agents Green and Navarro have been ordered to cease any activities connected to SCP-2162 and have been placed on 1 week's administrative leave before transfer to subsequent assignments. Authorized A.D. Griffith. She lay, crying, in a darkened cell, listening to her brother's screams and the threats of their captors if he failed again. Sometimes she imagined shapes in the blackness, figures coming to save her, but no figures appeared in that perpetual numbing dark. No one had come. Would no one come? Oh shit. So the fact that the Foundation was like, yeah, we're not going to investigate anymore, definitely led to a lot of trouble. That is what the hell? Why did my thing close? Okay, let me just get it back open again. Woo! What a read. What a read. I would say the tales were definitely a lot more connected to Agent Green than the anomaly itself, which I don't mind. I don't mind. I'm always down to, like, you know, have some world building, and just like not let the tales not always be about anomalies. I do like that Agent Green has something to do with it. The first tale being to explain who he is and why he is the first tale was definitely Agent Green being like, you know, this is who he is and why he plays an important role in this investigation. And the second one is definitely like okay, they have a clue on the anomaly and now we get some detective work done. I think the second one would have been more important than the first tale, but I don't mind reading it. I don't mind reading it, because I do like tales that just expand the world or expand a character. Because I don't think I would have like fully like enjoyed Agent Green in the second tale if I didn't know like how he behaved or who he is. Because like yeah, we could have enjoyed like the back and forth and so on from Navarro and Green, but it's also just cool to see how competent Agent Green is, or how he works, how his thought process is. Because like the first tale it shows us or like explains to us why he acted the way he did for the anomaly, because that's basically his expertise. Like he's not dumb, and he can definitely make really like educated choices that will help the Foundation overall. But yeah, no, at the end, like the first tale, which was definitely a lot longer, was probably not fully related to the anomaly, but like I said, it was a good time. It was a good time, and I'm just glad that now the rest will be a lot shorter, which means we probably will get this done in an hour and 20 minutes. So at 1 a.m. hopefully I'm done with this.